Pennsylvania coaching legend joining me right now, Dave Whitey Williams. He's from the Tamaqua area, won a few state titles with Mount Carmel. You also coached though at Shenandoah Valley, Tamaqua in our area here, and then finished your career at Nazareth. Number one, thank you just for coming in and taking the time to talk about one of your former players, Brett Veach, who's the general manager for the Kansas City Chiefs. So he was on, what, your first state championship team at Mount Carmel?
Well, the first state championship team.
And he played what position? What position?
He was a running back, but he was so diverse. We would spread. We were kind of, I was a Don Coryell fan, and the Air Coryell. We were kind of, I won't say ahead of our time, but we started spreading the field, and he sometimes would play receiver, but he was very much special teams. And when I look at a guy that plays for him now, Tyreek Hill. If you look at Tyreek Hill at that level, that's where Brett was an example at the high school level. He was very similar. His title when he first got involved with the Eagles, he was assistant to the head coach. And assistant to the head coach basically was, to me, his gopher.
Okay, it was like in The Office. If you're a fan of The Office, they had assistant to the regional manager, and he's assistant to the coach. Got you.
And he was under his wing, and it was funny, I would tease Brett often. I'd say, what are you going to do this forever? And one day he looked at me, he said, Coach, someday I'm going to be a general manager. And it kind of, set me back a little bit. I gave him a little bit of a chuckle, and it was like, yeah, right. And ironically, as time went on, with the Eagles, Andy moved him into scouting, and he was a pro scout, because at that level, they have pro and college scouts. And then they have a guy overlooking both the pro and college scouting. And what happened was, he was involved with the scouting with the Eagles, but when Andy had gone out to Kansas City, he put Brett overlooking. He was the guy that would overlook both the pro and college scouting, and he was the one that brought in Patrick Mahomes. And I had the opportunity to meet Patrick myself, and when you look at Brett and you look and the opportunity to get to know Andy, I mean, when you look at the character of the whole thing, sometimes you look at things in programs, and programs get a bad reputation and things, but right now I think the Kansas City Chiefs right now are showing some great character from the top to the bottom. I got to meet Mr. Hunt, his sister, and many others, and I just look at that franchise and I can see why, after knowing Brett from Mount Carmel, I can see why they want him in the program.
Seems like a family atmosphere maybe. Yes. in Kansas City. Leading up to the Super Bowl, you're texting with Brett and you say, hey, they're doing a fundraiser back here for Babe Conroy. Lots of you in the Hazleton area will know Babe. He was working at the Standard Speaker for a long time, was my boss. Very well known in the Shenandoah area, in the athletic community there. There's a scholarship set up for him, doing a fundraiser for that. You text Brett, Super Bowl time, and you said, hey, is there anything, can you help us out? And you said immediately, like the next day you had a football, and this is actually signed by Patrick Mahomes. As people are seeing all these stories about Brett in the local area, but also nationally now, he's getting the attention. What would you like our viewers to really know about him, his personality, as we're getting ready to sign off here?
Well, I think the fact is, I wrote a poem to Brett when believe it or not, I taught language arts and I really like poetry, and I wrote this poem, and his grandfather, Pooch, who would be so proud today, and his grandmother, Stella, it trickles down.
There's a lot of love, a lot of family.
Yeah. Right
there. So when you wrote this to him, this was when he first became the
general manager. I'll share it with you.
All right. Well, I thank you so much for your time and sharing all these stories today. And like I said, it was an honor to have you come in, let alone your resume as a coaching legend here in the state, taking some time for us, but also sharing the story of your former player, Brett Veach, who's now the general manager of the Kansas City Chiefs, playing in the Super Bowl this weekend against the San Francisco 49ers, and Robbie Gould, their kicker, another player that Dave Whitey Williams once coached here in Pennsylvania. Coach, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Kenny.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.